Welcome to the Four Fouls podcast. Tune in, don't foul out. Hey everyone, I'm Brianna. Some people call me Bree. These four fouls do, but y'all don't get to. Let's get introduced to everyone here. Let's start with Cori.
Hey, the champ is here. That's all I got to say.
Luis.
No, he not.
Where have you?
Devonte.
Me goat. Nah, just playing. I ain't doing that too much, but what's good, y'all? D Black in the building.
And CJ.
Yo, let's go. Let's do this.
Wow, y'all are so hyped this week. So everyone, this is the Four Fouls podcast. Like I said, we're split up into 4 quarters. If you say something good, you're going to hear a little coin sound. You're going to get a point. Whoever gets the most points gets the final take at the end. If you hear a whistle, that means you said something crazy. You don't want to get 4 fouls because then you're out, and then we'll see you next week. So let's get started with the first quarter. This week, I'm going to bring up that Shannon Crowder and Jake Paul, there was a video, I don't know if y'all saw it. It resurfaced on social media depicting a heated debate surrounding respecting influencers and their impact on the world. So how do y'all feel about influencers? CJ, since I didn't call on you last week, we'll start with you.
Yo, okay. Appreciate that. I don't know how I feel about influencers. Essentially, they're marketing assets. They're set up to influence a specialized, situation, community, etc. But it has been seeming over the last kind of few years that they've been turning into a little bit of like a modern day snake oil salesman. A lot of them, they might be in it for some good things, some beneficial things for their product and consumers. But for a lot of them, it feels like now it's about just making money and not always for the right reasons. And I don't want to say everybody, I don't want to generalize it to the whole community, but, especially for the Pauls, a lot of their crowd are kids. And I will say that they definitely take advantage of their audience. So, it's kind of how I feel.
Okay, Devonte, what do you think?
They just, honestly, they're a part of this new generation, if you want to be honest. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but I would not ever hate on nobody getting their bag, period. So do they influence on a positive note all the time? No. And are they all bad? No, not as well. So, I don't really have the strongest opinion of them. They're here for a reason, though. Marketing, advertise, all types of things what influencers can do and be here for. But I'm just not the biggest fan of them personally. It's just something I'm old school. That's all I can say. So yeah.
Luis, what do you got to say about that?
I just think they're, when you talk about impact, to me, it's just a different kind of situation because you always want to have that positive impact, and some influencers don't do that. There's some pages that are just completely terrible pranks, and it's kind of like, how far are you willing to take those pranks, until where it's just being a petty criminal, and there you have them trying to, infiltrate different entertainment like boxing or people wanting, there's a kicker who played for UFC who's still trying to make it into the league. You want to see those stories, but influencers are just not my thing.
Cori, do you agree, disagree?
First off, what the hell is an influencer? Like, that's what I've been asking myself since this whole social media thing started, right? Because in my head, aren't we all, at some point, if you have a following, everybody to some certain extent is an influencer, at least in my head, in my book. Now, between Jake Paul and Crowder, the conversation doesn't really make sense to me because one is an NFL player and one is now, I guess, a boxer, and everybody knows him, he's pretty famous. But they both, to me, have similar influence over their fans, right? So NFL players, who doesn't idolize NFL players and will follow what they do? And if they're wearing clothes, we want to wear their clothes. If they're driving nice cars, we want to drive their cars. And I feel the same about some of these people on social media. So I think sometimes with the social media influencers, you kind of just fall into it. Like you have a viral moment and then it stays viral and then you just become like somebody who everybody's watching. So, do I think it can be bad? Yeah, I think everybody can be bad, but I don't even know what the hell an influencer is besides people who are just essentially swagger jacking the black culture and recycling their stuff. So that's how I kind of feel about that one.
I definitely think it was interesting because he was Crowder was very upset about just like not understanding like their point, influencers' point, you know. But I guess it's just some people can, you know, just do what they want, and I think that's kind of what he was trying to say. But with that, a lot of people kind of just do what they want. You know who's doing what they want? Jeff Bezos. He's going to space, y'all. Oh my gosh. So he's headed to outer space, right? Amazon CEO. And he has a seat open that anyone could pay for. So if y'all had money, would you go to outer space, Luis?
So the ticket sold for $28 million. I don't have $28 million, so I can't go into space.
If you had 28 mil, what's the question?
No. It's sold for $28 million.
I know, but
the auction.
I'm saying if you had the money, would you do it?
Still no. It's outer space. It's cold. And none in there. No oxygen. Like, you just asking to be uncomfortable. Just for what? So you can say you went up there? Come on now. We got bigger issues to fry. Come on now.
Devonte, what do you think?
Wasting money.
Yeah, I remember that Will Smith meme when he looked and then he just looked away. That was me when I seen that article. That's what's up. Wish him the best. Wish him safely, you know, make it, do something, put a flag, cool. Yeah, no, if I had that much money, first of all, $28 million, I'm changing my life completely. Still keeping my job, try to, and things like that. But I'm not spending no ticket on going to...
Talk to me nice. Talk to me nice.
You gotta save, y'all. We gotta preach that. We gotta influence the young generation and stuff like that. But,
influence, huh?
You spending it. But no, I'm not spending $28 million like that young man who did or woman who did to buy that ticket. I can keep that for myself and watch Jeff Bezos do that on Twitter someday later. So yeah, no, I'll pass. Strong.
I think they're only going up there for like 11 minutes too. Like, it's supposed to be really short. So I don't know. CJ, what do you think?
For 11 minutes.
11 minutes, yeah.
I mean, I was never sold for it, but 11 minutes of space for $28 million? You out your mind, bro. You out your mind. Listen, I'm of mind that if I ever had that money, I'm going to help my community. I'm not going to sit here and waste it on a random ass trip to maybe, I guess take some pictures. I don't even know what the benefit of this is. This is not some like scientific exploration. This is not something that I would choose to go for because I spent my whole life preparing for it. It's just because I have the money. And that's really not a good way to be spending some shit just because, like, oh yeah, I just have it, so let me fucking buy the moon next. What? No, fuck that. No, some super villain shit. That's what it is. That's what it really is.
Lex Luthor.
I think it's...
Yeah, but he looked like him too.
So they're saying he's going to go July 20th. So it's slated after he's supposed to retire. That, to my knowledge.
From what?
So but that's what I'm saying. Like, he has this money. He's doing it because he can. Cori, what do you think? Would you go?
Of course, in classic CJ fashion, I can't really follow that up because he went to like the moralistic route. You know what I'm saying? I sound like an asshole for saying that, hell yeah, I'm going to space. And I'm going to tell you why I'm going too. So, generally speaking, if I had not thought about this, I'm not going to space. But there are a group of people out there that I want to prove wrong, and they're called flat earthers. And I'm going up there to take every image and video that I can. And if it means infiltrating them to, I don't know, gain their trust so I can rip it apart, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm taking my 11 minutes and all of my evidence and I'm bringing them up back to Earth. And I'm telling everybody who flat Earth, hey, you wrong, you stupid. Maybe not stupid, but you have been bamboozled. You have been hoodwinked. You have been led astray, run amok, okay? Swindled. And now I have the truth. And they ain't gonna lie anyway, but I want to go just to see. As long as we on the edge, I ain't trying to go interstellar, you know what I'm saying? But if long as we on the edge, I'm cool. We like touch space a little bit, I'm good.
Be ready to be subtweeted by Kyrie though.
Yeah, I'm about to say Kyrie has stepped in the chat.
He gonna
Kyrie.
Be
No, he already apologized for it.
Heal your ankle, sir.
Oh, wow.
Heal your ankle. Let's move on.
But CJ made a good point. Like, that's a lot of money, and you could be putting that elsewhere. I'm sure he does more than just that, but I could see where he could look like a bad guy, for not, maybe investing that with so many problems that we have in the world. And another bad guy I wanted to talk about, Loki. Yeah, so the anticipated television show Loki premiered this week on Disney Plus. And I don't know, did y'all watch it? Is it worth the watch? What do y'all think? Let's start with Devonte.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm liking the little short MCU shows that they're spinning into. I do think that it's all going to come together and make sense eventually. Not saying that they are just random shows that don't make sense, but I think they're pretty cool. It's some characters that we're not really seeing a full, I won't say development, but we won't get to see the full experience of them within the films, so that we're getting TV shows. And I feel like Loki is going to show us, or specifically myself, more about him. We already know that he's a mischief man. He's a snake, let's be honest, but he can try to have a good heart, but 9 times out of 10, he's going to snake you and do something evil to his master plan or whatever. But it's pretty cool. I can't say too much about it because I don't want to spoil much. It's pretty cool to see Owen Wilson is taking a step into the MCU, but I definitely still hear that Lightning McQueen voice that kind of trips me out a little bit. But I am excited to see where this show goes. I watched the snippet for the episode 2, and I'll be ready next Wednesday night at 2 a.m, but I'm not staying up that late though. So yeah, it looks pretty cool.
CJ, what do you think? Is it worth watching it?
Yeah, I mean, all of the MCU shows so far have just been amazing and really quality. I wouldn't say television because it's really not television, but just a good bite-sized samples of what the MCU can do. I think Loki brings a whole new thing that we have not really seen in the MCU outside of like Endgame, which is like the time travel-y kind of multiverse reality type area. That I know the MCU is going to start dipping their toes in the actual movies. So I'm expecting that this show is going to actually lead into the movie slates coming up in the summer. Not necessarily Black Widow, just because that was supposed to release a good amount of time and they kept on pushing it back. But for like the Eternals, I know the Eternals are probably it's going to lead somewhat into it. So I'm having fun watching it so far. I think it's really a worthwhile watch. It might be something that at the end of it could be the best MCU show because it's feeling like it's really well funded and actually well produced. It has a lot of cool little side things that I'm not saying it yet, but it feels like it could get there. Like it feels like the hype is there. So
okay, Luis, what do you gotta add to that, or do you agree, disagree?
Oh, I definitely agree. I think Loki is honestly one of my favorites so far that they've put out. No disrespect to WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I believe it's one of the best ones. Loki, to see like Loki's little moments, even when, for an example, don't want to ruin the show, but when he was like, "Yo, you're DB Cooper," like, and that was really tight, So like we got to see different aspects of his life that make you want to like be more involved into the character, and you develop it. Now, with that being said, I don't want the God of Mischief just to be turned into a good guy. I want him to stay true to the character, and I feel like he's about to start hunting, certain things. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Cori, I always love seeing your facial expressions. Made me laugh there. What do you have to add?
Well, the quickest rebuttal I can say is, Luis, do you have you got like a secret access to Disney? You done watched the whole season already?
Nah.
Then how the hell you gonna say it's better than WandaVision? You seen one episode, bro. Okay. That's
Are you
my
a fan?
Thing. Don't be like,
you good?
yeah. Listen. Very much so a fan. Here's how I feel about Loki. I feel like it's worth the watch. If you are any bit of a Marvel fan, yes, it is worth the watch. If you know kind of his story and how it ends in the MCU, you can probably pass on it if you're not like a seasoned vet. Cause I ain't gonna front. The first episode was like, it's cool seeing those different things, but there was a scene in there where the dialogue was literally like 10 minutes. I'm like, I ain't trying to see 10 minutes of two people talk.
Yeah.
about something. So I feel like it's a little bit of a drag, but it has to be for the setup. And maybe that's just the first episode. Maybe they go into a lot of the action here late, which is kind of what they have been doing with all of their shows. So if you're a Marvel fan, yes, watch it. If you're not, and you already kind of know how the Loki story is, maybe you don't have to.
Yeah. And I mean, I will say WandaVision's first episode had me kind of the same, like, what is this? Like, it's different, but it's for a reason. So story building. Exactly. So.
Well, y'all, that wraps up our first quarter. That was quick. Second quarter, we're going to talk about some sports because we're a sports podcast. Anyway, as NBA coaches are being fired and positions have been vacated, the discussion of race and head coaching jobs is yet again at the forefront. So my question to y'all is, how does the NBA fix their race issue with its head coaches? Luis, what do you think?
Invest in assistant coaches and develop them and put them in the best positions to lead your team. Simple as that. Because we get into optics and what player coach can transition best and what superstar team wants in their coach, and you get away from the coaching and the integral part that the coach plays in developing the team and the plays and how they run the team. So you have to invest in African-American coaches, period.
But I definitely think there are coaches, but there are people maybe just might not be, using or choosing people. That's my, so not necessarily, I don't know if it's an investment issue. What do you think, Cori?
I would have to agree with you there. I think that there are plenty of African-American and minority assistant coaches. But they never ascend to and I guess, don't let me use the word never. They rarely ascend to the highest realm, which is the head coaching in a league that is dominated by black players, which is just wild to me. So I think that the way you have to do this is there has to be some sort of stringent minimums to these coaching jobs. Organizations can't just be out here like, you know what? I've always loved Steve Nash. I kind of liked Steve Nash before. So when our vacancy comes up, we just going to go ahead and we're going to do the system of like, we put the interview out there, but we know we're getting Steve Nash. We can go get Steve Nash. Like, people got to come with these resumes that really say, this is what you've done. When I go out and get a job, they say, oh, I have to have a master's, right? And then they say something that's preferred. So maybe it's preferred you play basketball, but there's minimum requirements that if I just submit the stuff and it don't meet, it's getting thrown out. And I feel like that's what has to start happening with some of these coaching jobs. It's plenty of people who are qualified, who are assistants, who are players who are going to move into the assistant roles, who are not going to get these head coaching jobs for people who, I don't know, I feel like at this time, maybe even Skip Bayless can jump out and then get a damn head coaching job. Like, goodness gracious, bro. But anyway, that's how I feel. I feel like they got to put some job requirements, some heavy, stringent job requirements on the head coaching position.
Devonte, looks like you agree. What do you think?
Yeah, I like Luis and Corey's points on that. Definitely, we need to start investing in our assistant coaches. There is tons of them, especially that are minorities, that have just been sitting there. And no disrespect to Steve Nash, but then I guess kind of a little bit, because I still to this day never understood how that whole head coaching vacancy worked. But the man had like literally zero experience of head coaching. Yes, he's one of our great point guards that we've had in this league. Definitely love this time with the Mavs and the Suns. And he's had a lot of influences on a lot of these point guards and guards in this league. But a head coaching job off top, that was insane to me. I would have seen Jason Kidd before I would have seen Steve Nash. But, he just inherited such a great team that is working out somehow. But, also, how? Like, if it's going to remain to be an issue to where people who just got the hot name at the moment are going to just keep getting the jobs, and the assistants are busting their tails for like 15 seasons sitting with that team, and to have that job given to someone who's just the hot name right now, and 9 times out of 10 they most likely are going to be white, then that's just what the NBA is facing right now. I definitely think probably I'm going to have to lean more towards what Luis said, is investing in our assistant coaches, because I know so many of them that have just been sitting there waiting on this opportunity that they just get passed up. And so I don't think it might be intentional as much as some people might perceive it as. I just think we're in this new era of social media where it's like a good crowd of people can say, look, the Nets need to have so-and-so as our head coach. He's popular right now. He's just chilling. It's kind of like a good example for me would be like if Peyton Manning out of nowhere, they were like, bro, Peyton Manning needs to be the head coach of some team. And then social media wave just started drowning that. It's probably going to 9 times out of 10 happen. And then the person who's been sitting there for a while won't get that job. So, yeah, it's going to take a lot of work for this to eventually become a thing for people to actually get the jobs they deserve. So,
CJ, what do you have to add? How are they going to fix it?
I think I agree with y'all, but I think I actually differ on the look on like Steve Nash, Jason Kidd's getting jobs first, right? Because those are NBA players who like are known for their acumen of understanding basketball to a high degree.
Exactly.
My issue is that a decade ago, 14 out of 30 coaches were black. We are sitting here today and only 7 out of 30 coaches are black, right? Of the number of coaches who have been hired since then, the white coaches, for the most part, are hired without NBA experience. My issue comes with why are we hiring, and disproportionately so, white coaches without NBA experience without also looking at black coaches who may be on coaching staffs in college or NBA arenas who don't have coaching experience in the same manner. That's my issue is that there's a double standard that we need to start examining and saying if we're going to give the preferential looks for these individuals, like for example, Chris Finch, who is the head coach for the Timberwolves. He got hired over David Vanderpool, who was already assistant coach for the Timberwolves, a black guy on the Timberwolves staff, for some reason. And there needs to be an explanation of why'd you decide to override that person's promotion and give it to someone who doesn't have the experience like him. And once we can start having those conversations, and I think the NBA needs to really look at it because it's quite uncomfortable to see a black league like the NBA sit here and lose half their black coaches in a decade and start looking like that trend's going to continue, because I don't know, the top coaching names right now have been Jason Kidd and Mike D'Antoni. Like, that doesn't feel right to me. That doesn't feel right. All right, where's Mark Jackson at? Come on, can we get Mark Jackson a job again? Like, come on now, come on.
He leading the church, bro. He leading the church.
Juwan Howard, Penny Hardaway.
Fact.
Oh, Juwan Howard.
Hey, shout out to
he ain't leaving Michigan, by the way.
yeah, I think Coach Boynton and OK State need to be in the NBA too.
Hey, real talk.
And that's a really good point that Cori brought up, and CJ, you kind of touched on it as well, that like it's, I think, what, 80%, or it's like a really high percentage of the league is black. So representation, you know? Anyway,
Facts.
The next one I have for y'all is the Bucks are coming back against the Nets with the injuries. Can KD lead a team? Devonte, what do you think?
I have hope, but I guess I might take a foul for this because I ain't even about to talk about KD right now. This is very similar to the GOAT, LeBron James, has been going through for this past year and a half. Congrats to them winning that ship last year, but we didn't get no break. Let me stop saying we. LeBron didn't get no break. It's feeling personal, y'all. I'm sorry. And he had to roll with the punches. And I'm not saying KD won't be able to, but if KD is not able to get to the championship and win the title like he needs to, what does this say? Like, I don't know. Like, can we get off LeBron a little bit for not getting the job done? Can we not? I don't know. What does it say about, you know, the coaching? Like, what does it say about the certain people need to be traded? Like, I don't know. It's just start a whole thing. I need to see chaos happen if they don't go past the Bucks right now, or if they don't go to the championship because of these injuries. I said this a long time ago. I feel like they holding out some of these injuries, except what happened to Kyrie. You know, Kyrie was real, hurt his ankle. Hope man gets better. But they were chilling Harden because they knew they were going to get past the Bucks. Harden might be a little dinged up, but he ain't hurt too bad to not play against the Bucks right now. They were saving him. If the game goes the way it might goes today, where the Bucks winning, James Harden will be playing this next game. Mark my words. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's all he's gonna say, y'all. Luis, what do you think?
Yeah, it's KD, man. Stop it. That man can drop 45 at will, only shooting twice. Man's automatic. Listen, KD can lead this team. He still has some pieces. He still has Blake Griffin. Jeff Green returned to the lineup. The Bucks are just playing great defense. If you look at how PJ Tucker's playing Kevin Durant, it's like you need to create different kind of space. So I think you do it. I think the Nets are going to walk out of this series. I think they're going to win the next two. And he going to lead them into the finals. But the Jazz, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Donovan Mitchell. So,
We'll talk about that
You're right,
later.
CJ. You're
Talk
right.
about that later.
You're right, CJ. You're right.
We'll talk about that later.
Corey, can KD lead a team?
The answer is yes and no. So here's the thing. I think KD can lead a team full of superstars. I think it becomes easier for KD because KD doesn't have to worry about much. He can pass the buck if he needs to pass the buck. No pun intended. And I think that we've seen that throughout his career. When he was on the team with the Thunder and he had James Harden and Russ, they went to the finals, correct? They did. And then they broke up, and then what happened? Trash. So then where'd he go? He went to the best team, arguably in NBA history, with the Warriors, where it was easy for him to be the leading scorer and everything else. He had Steph Curry, the best shooter. He also had Klay Thompson. He had Draymond Green, one of the best defenders. So it was easy for him. Now he's at Brooklyn, and when he has the entire Brooklyn team, of course it's easy for him to lead. But now that people are hurt and it's just him, the man had 28 points today and nobody else scored over 15. Actually, I think maybe somebody had 18. Let me double check real quick. No.
Nope.
The highest next scorer was 11 points. And that was Kyrie, and he hurt his ankle. So you're telling me he could drop 45 on 2 shots. Well, why did he only drop 28? That's all I have to say.
CJ, what do you think?
I think personally, KD to me is the best scorer in the league. Obviously, I think that's not a issue with anybody here in that opinion. So to me, it's not about his scoring ability. It's not necessarily about his rebounding or even just assist numbers. It's really about, can he motivate the team around him to step up in the place of his, hurt superstars. I personally don't think so. I think KD has a personality that's really about, I'm gonna get mine, and let the others figure this shit out. You know what I mean? And that's the reason why he didn't work out in OKC. He's like, I'm gonna get mine. Everybody else can't really step up to my level, so I need to go and find somewhere that can. Am I wrong? Because he went to where? He went to it right after that. He went to the Warriors. So I think personally, I think we're being a little bit of like recency bias when we look at this situation, because I don't think Harden is going to be out the whole series. I think he's probably going to be back next game.
Oh yeah,
especially now that Kyrie's out. Like, he's definitely going to be back. So I don't have an issue thinking that the Nets will still win this series. But if we're asking like if KD is going to be the one to motivate the entire team to come and replace what the production for Kyrie or Harden would if they don't play, I can't see that. I really can't see that now.
Well, I guess we're gonna find out, just like everything else. But just kind of how he jumps places. Well, I don't know if y'all knew, but the European Super League, they've been fined. I think it was like 22 million collectively for their attempts to abandon the Premier League. So talk about jumping from team to team. Was this attempt a mistake or a calculated risk to change the game in the ways the clubs wanted it to change? CJ, you want to start out? You ready?
Yeah, I could talk about this. I mean, in every part of this entire move or attempt move was greed. It was an attempt to make some more money. And I think that when you have, especially a league and a sport like European soccer, right, where communities are set up specifically because of certain, teams and are not necessarily set up, but they're like, their entire motivation, their entire entertainment value is derived from their soccer team, and you might potentially harm that in any way, you gonna get fired. And so I don't know why they acted like this was not gonna happen. They should have expected this. They have made their bed. They need to lay in that bed and accept the L's that are going to be coming, because at the end of the day, you cannot put greed ahead of the fans in European soccer. European football. I keep on saying soccer. European football, because the fans, they ain't gonna allow that shit. They just not. There's even your own fans. They don't give a fuck. They're not gonna allow that shit. So, it's really disappointing.
Corey, calculated risk to change the game or no?
I think to CJ's point, I think this was a calculated risk. I think sometimes, much like in protests, if you can't hear me, I need to scream. And I think that this is what happened. We're going to take this L by leaving, because I'm sure this is not going to be complete and form the way it's supposed to form. But when we go back, somebody's going to have to pay out, and there has to be some sort of, the league's going to look at us and say, all right, maybe we need to change, right? Because were the teams not feeling as if, or the clubs not feeling as if, like, stuff was antiquated and they weren't getting the things that they wanted? So, of course, they're like, all right, well, we're going to start our own league over here, and then you'll bring us back, and then you'll have to work through some sort of deal with us to where you're addressing some of the stuff that we want. So I think it was more calculated risk than anything else. Like, I don't think that they really thought it was finna be a super league, but you gonna tell me, CJ, that if they left, that they fans is really gonna be like, oh, I'm done watching them.
Yes.
I'm done being a fan.
Bro, yes, absolutely. I mean, as our producer Chance just pointed out, man, the Man U fans literally broke into the stadium in protest of this. Like, this was not joke. No joking was the fans, thought process in this. They were going to tell the club exactly what they wanted, and what they wanted was them to chill the fuck out and stop trying to do the shady shit and possibly ruin a league in which there's history, there is rich, blood, sweat, and tears put into each and every one of those teams in the Premier League, in the Italian league. I'm messing up names of leagues and shit like that, but y'all know what I'm trying to say. Like, it's real. It's real. It's like to me, if the Dallas Cowboys said, I'm gonna break off of the NFL and go somewhere else, do you understand how mad the fans would be? Do you understand how upset the fans would be? They are the highest money making team in the league. But if they try to go and do something on their own because they think that they can make more money by taking the clubs that actually
but it wasn't just more money though.
It was.
It wasn't just more money though.
It doesn't matter what what they're saying. It was more money. The bottom line was, we are going to make more money off of this than. So
CJ, so you are part of the league now. You one of the players. You know exactly what they're saying. So you telling me that they gonna tell me something I got to disregard what they saying?
Are we going to trust the word of billion-dollar corporations now? Just off the bat? Is that what we doing here?
Who said soccer is dead?
Listen, I'm not saying that we have to even believe necessarily in the corporations. I don't think that money was just the only motivator, right? That's all I'm trying to say. I don't think that money was the only thing that motivated them to say, let's get out of here. They stated that it was money, but also that they wanted other things in space for the game to evolve. And if you're trying to tell me that if Dallas Cowboys didn't get 12 other teams to leave the NFL, you're not going to be a Cowboy fan? You wild, bro. If the Eagles was like, fuck the NFL, and we got 12 other teams to go with us, and it's still the Philadelphia Eagles or whatever.
The NFL's a bad example. I'm not gonna lie. The NFL is a bad example. The NFL is a bad example. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm still gonna watch it because I love football. Like, I'm still gonna watch the team because I love the team. So that's all I'm trying to say is I think it was more calculated than it was anything else to get the stuff that they wanted, because they are now talking about stuff and how it can change. But you know what I'm saying? Luis, you can go.
You're our football, soccer / those two guy. What do you think, Luis?
Nah, I think I kind of agree with Corey. It's extremely calculated because they're just testing the waters. They're trying to see what are we able to go with. I remember a time 10 years ago where this was a topic of conversation, where the top 4 teams of each league have the ability and the power and the influence to say, we're tired of playing these certain games, so we're going to leave and create our own and create a super league. It's a detriment to the fans, of course. Is it backed by greed? Of course. But that doesn't make a Man City fan not a Man City fan because they leave the Premier League. But we have to kind of look at this as, is it good for soccer or European football? And it's not. It's not at all. Because at the end of the day, you're picking your opponents, you're picking the competition, and you take away from the integrity of the sports, the competition, and the hard work that these teams go through to advance their table and make it to the Europa League, make it to the Champions League, and be able to compete. Now, with soccer being so saturated with international cups, friendlies, Champions League, Premier League, or even whatever league you belong to, there's just a lot of soccer, and they want to continue to expand, but there's only so many days out of the year. So it kind of brings the element of how much saturation are you going to give the fan just for consumption.
Okay, so I have a question for you, Luis, because you know this stuff better than I do. And did they gain anything else besides that $22 million fine?
So they're actually they're getting deducted points from advance.
So, but my question,
there's like investigations, and more sanctions will develop based on those investigations. Like Real Madrid is being investigated by UEFA, Barcelona and Juventus, which are still the top 3 teams that decided to stay within the Super League. So you have all these elements being played along, and those are the teams that win the Champions League or the most competitive or have the most money to attract the best talents. Like they're able to get Kaká and Cristiano Ronaldo in one season, on one offseason. That's 2 legendary players. Same with Barcelona, who just picked up Sergio Aguero and's been able to pay, unreal money to Leo Messi and Antoine Griezmann, develop players by themselves. So it's just a powerhouse of just like, give me the best players and we're just going to hoard it over here. And like, this is my money, this is my pot, and this is my soccer. And it's kind of like, dude, shut up. Like real, like, yeah. I
get, yeah. I mean, 22 million, that's a ton, even if they're splitting it between the teams. I don't know, Devonte, what do you think? Was it a mistake or calculated risk?
Greed. That's all I'm going to say. Money is the root of all evil. Period.
Y'all, that wraps up our second quarter. So now we're going to go into the third quarter, fact or cap, my favorite. The first one I have for y'all is the NCAA is considering a CFB playoff expansion to 12 teams. Interesting, getting more people, more wide range of possibilities. So my question is, CFB playoff expansion, is it best for the game, fact or cap? Let's start with Cori.
It is not best for the game, and the reason why I say that is this: as a fan, would I love to see more football? I don't even much care for college football that much, but would I love to see more football? Yes, I would love to see more football. However, I think there's one thing that we forget. These are students, quote unquote amateurs, who are not getting paid for what they are doing, who are risking their life, body, and limb, who some of them are really taking their education serious. And so more playoff games means more time on campus, more time maybe missing classes, more time missing other experiences that they might get at college. So no, this is not for people who are going to sit and just want to watch football, and they get it. Like, I get it. For them, they're going to be like, oh, this is great. We won a 16-team playoff. But for the student athletes, they are students first. This is not good for them. This is not good. I think there needs to be another championship route to expand it a little bit and offer teams who go, perfect on a year to be able to have a chance to be a champion. But I don't think that a 12-game football, right? Because basketball is a little bit different and everything else, but football, like football playoffs, is good for the sport. I don't think it's good for the players. That's just me.
Devonte, looks like you agree. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I definitely was super against it when I first seen it. Got some more news on it and some research to see how the brackets could possibly be set up, and got a little interested, and overall just thought it's just still not a good idea. And the only reason I say that is because I 100% agree with Cori. These are student athletes. We've all worked on campus before. We all have student athletes. We're very close with some of our students, and we see that certain things they go through. At the end of the day, these are students. It is a student athlete. Again, I'm a super big college football fan. Love watching it all day. Love my Saturdays being full with college football. But at the end of the day, I care about students first and student safety. And that is just a lot of football. I'll tell you one thing, though, because 9 times out of 10, this is going to happen. So for sure, I'm going to say cap. This is not a good thing. But this is going to pass through. But just watch how many opt-outs, how many people are skipping bowl games, skipping playoff games. It's about to increase so much and drastically. Like, we're going to see top picks that are going to be projected. They're going to talk to their agents and be like, I don't need to play this. If you want to risk me for not making all these millions that I can, I'm just not going to play. So that's another thing that they're going to be risking.
But maybe, I don't know, y'all, student athletes, you become one. I mean, I wasn't one, right? But I know I love, my sport, and I know that I would play it all the time if I could. So maybe they want it. I don't know. What do you think, CJ?
I agree with Devonte in that this is definitely going to pass. If you know anything about the NCAA and what they like to do with their championships, it is tournament style play. It is. I mean, the college basketball landscape changed in 1939 when they introduced their first tournament for college basketball. Which, fun fact, the two teams in that championship game was also the two teams in the first college football playoff championship matchup, Oregon and Ohio State. Both of them took one apiece. So I'll say this. It is absolutely, and it's honestly that we're continuing the conversation about the Super League. It's about greed, and it's about monetizing the game in a way that is not beneficial for, this part is about the players. Like, it's absolutely not beneficial for the players. We're talking about, I have seen people who are going into the draft who got killed in the playoffs, got hurt, got absolutely destroyed. I'm thinking top of my head is Jalen Smith. Luckily, he was a second round pick and he was able to get his nerve back, but he blew out his knee in a college football playoff game. And this is the things that we could have avoided because they weren't going to go to the national championship. I don't know. Notre Dame was not going to be in the national championship that year. So to me, it's like, it's a no-brainer to think of, if I'm worried about my safety of the players, why would I put them in 4 to 5 more games? What are we doing? Like, what is the point of this other than to just get more money off of them? And they're already a very heavily exploited group. Like, all of the players in college sports are exploited to a umpteenth degree, but football is just a whole other beast. They make so much money off of football, and I will say basketball too, to the point where it's like, you don't pay them and you're gonna make them play another like 3 or 4 games a year. Y'all tripping, dude. So yeah, no.
But y'all don't.
So cap is the answer. That cap is the answer.
But y'all don't think that it'll provide more opportunity for different teams to be a part of the, to get a better chance to actually get in the playoffs and win? I don't know. What do you think, Luis?
Absolutely not. Alabama dominates it year in and year out. So does Clemson. The only positive that I see from this expansion is the TB contracts and that money trickling down to other university departments. That's the only positive that I see in here. But I got 3 people working in higher eds looking at me funny.
Yeah,
because they ain't gonna do that. They're not giving that.
This is not really a positive to having this conversation.
I ain't not one of that money, bro. I ain't.
Exactly.
The only thing I see happening is we can now stop hearing UFC or UCF complain about like being the national champs, because they're gonna have an opportunity now. Now, if they get waxed, they can't complain no more because they got that.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Expansion. So
even with the structure of
that's so far and few.
Yeah.
Like that's so far and few. Like if you look at a lot of every single year, there's a team that go undefeated. That's a good football team. That is not gonna get the shine. Even if we go 12 teams, they still not gonna get it because they still gonna be using metrics like strength of schedule and everything else. And if you're just in a trash division, it don't matter. You're not ever gonna get that shine.
Yeah.
Listen, football is the one sport that it don't matter what your record is. You go against Bama, you gonna get blown out.
Yeah.
You could be undefeated in I don't know the Mountain West Conference, and you will get blown out still. So
I don't know, bro.
It's not basketball. It's not basketball, bro.
I don't know, bro. I don't know. I think that when we look at football, especially when it comes to college football, there ain't no defense being played anyway. So when we look at football, we talk about teams who are 16-0 or whatever, 12-0, who are averaging the highest averages in the nation and can't sniff Alabama. You don't think that it's a possibility? I think it is. Like when I'm watching the actual football's about matchups. Sometimes Alabama is a better team. I'm not saying there's not. I'm just saying
Nick
that there's
Saban is
probably
in some
a team out
middle
there.
schooler's DM who is like 6'7",
Facts.
290 pounds, bro.
Facts.
He talking
Bad
about
of
you
the
gonna get a
game,
full
man.
ride. You think that the Bama players are scared of anybody coming from a Mountain West?
Oh,
or
I'm not, and that's
He's saying-
exactly
and that's
why
he said
they get caught up.
Matchups.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
it's
I
about
get you.
matchups.
all
That's why you
matchups.
get caught up. You thinking,
Yeah.
oh, I ain't scared of them, and then before you know it, you down 28-0.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell just
I mean,
happened?
pride does play into effect.
Well, the next one I have for
Oh,
y'all,
not UT.
guys, is my next factor cap is the MLB is cracking down on sticky stuff that pitchers are using to better control their pitches and dominate offenses. So my question is, the MLB has a cheating issue, fact or cap, Devonte?
Good Lord. If it ain't one thing, it's another with this league.
Play the game. Just play the
Right?
game.
I'm going to say fact. Because at first I was going to say cap, but then it's just like, you just think of so much. People just getting caught.
You got a wire.
Come on, bro. Like, we clapping, we hitting stuff and making noises, and now we got sticky. Like, I don't know. I don't want to say it's like, oh, it's absolutely killing the league. MLB is still popping. They're going to have their success. But I will say, if they don't fix this now and put a stop to it, you're going to start getting more exposures in ownership. A lot of things are going to come out, and then it's just we're going to get a whole Washington football team, smack down on some of these teams, and you don't want that. You really don't. So clean it up, MLB. Sticky is for like that 50s and 40s. Let it go.
Luis, what do you think? Factor cap.
They for sure have a cheating problem. The Houston Astros had a whole scandal a little bit ago. Now you want now they want to put like some sticky. I understand you want to control the pitches and you want to perform, but I mean, come on, just play the game. I don't understand why you need some extra to elevate, yourself. Just practice. We're talking about practice.
If it's a cheating issue, then maybe it's something that's like a part of the game, right? Everyone's cheating. Then maybe it's just like who's better at doing it. I don't know. Corey, what do you think?
First off, baseball whack.
Whoa,
Baseball whack.
bro.
Whoa,
Listen,
chill.
I play baseball. All I'm gonna say is this: the reason why I say baseball is whack is because since I can remember growing up, born in 1990,
Back in my
there's
day,
always been some stuff going on. If it wasn't corking bats, if it wasn't steroids, if it wasn't something was wrong with the balls and sticky stuff and people banging on trash cans and
Gambling.
and you can go all the way back to Pete Rose and gambling and shaving points. Bro, baseball always looking for ways to get ahead. So like if there was a zombie apocalypse, I want a baseball team. They resourceful. They gonna find a way, bro. They gonna find a way to do what they need to do. So I feel like even the sticky stuff now, right? Because they've always got a little bit of stuff to get grip or whatever. They've been using a bunch of stuff, pine tar, whatever it is. Now they're using a different mixture of something that's not technically legal, but the sticky stuff, like it being sticky is because it's helping with an advantage. My only other thing is that there was some baseball players who said, hey, I don't really mind it because pitchers have gotten better now. They're throwing faster and harder pitches. And if the sticky stuff is going to give them control, I don't want a 100-mile-an-hour fastball slipping out their hand coming to my head. So, like, that's a point that I somewhat understand. But then also, in every sport, what sport hasn't really dealt with somebody trying to get an advantage on somebody else? And that might be harder in other sports. And that's why I think baseball is probably the most resourceful. But you can even talk about golf players getting LASIK. And, like, are you kind of cheating there? You know what I'm saying? Like,
LASIK?
tennis, yes, bro, because, you be able to see, got better, the depth of field. That was
That's
the thing.
not their choice.
Bro, that was a thing.
That's
Time
not
out, listen.
I didn't choose to wear glasses.
Go look it up.
I was just born this way.
Go look it up, bro. Go look it up. It was a huge thing when like Tiger and other people were getting LASIK. People were asking like, is this cheating? Are they gaining an advantage? And then a lot of other golfers started doing it,
I
bro.
wonder why they're asking that question on Tiger, bro.
All I'm trying to say is, I'm not saying that, but
Jameis
people
Winston
be
is cheating.
People be he trying to eat a W. He tried to eat a W, right?
He cheating. We can't see.
Well, you brought up a good point, steroids, right? I saw something that said this is like the next worst thing since steroids. It's like the new steroid. That's what I saw. So, CJ, looks like you don't agree with me. What do you gotta say?
I mean, steroids, I think it impacts the body in a different way that I wouldn't say that the pine tar situation. Like that, to me, I would be worried about cheating, but I'm also worried about personal health. I get that. But also I'm thinking of like the person's health, and like steroids can mess up your body in a bunch of different ways. Don't take steroids, boys and girls. I say this. It's obviously fact from the Black Sox to the steroids era to, everything the Astros have done in the last decade and now the pine tar. Obviously, the MLB has had huge cheating situations that have occurred amongst them, within the league. My thing is asking the question is is the MLB really trying to fix this issue? Like, are they really trying to fix cheating? Like, because I think it'd be pretty easy with some lifetime bans on some people if you're really trying to fix some cheating. Why haven't anybody been lifetime banned from the Astros organization? That's my point. I know there might be some execs that have been, but like some of those players were stealing signs in a World Series. Like, when are we gonna actually start banning people in a way that's meaningful? And to everyone's point here, baseball has so many issues. They have so many issues, whether it's like getting your product to the actual viewers who want to watch it, or actually putting games in a way that is like producing games, I should say, in a way that's not boring as hell, that takes 7 hours for people to be watching it, that's not in person. It just seems like the MLB has a lot of problems, and I don't think this problem is high up on their list. I mean, it's high up on their list, but is it really like the priority? Probably not. I think they need to figure out some other things first. So that's my take on this.
Well, the next one that I have for y'all for Factor Cap, last one. Steven Smith says that Mitchell's the best Utah Jazz player to ever grace the franchise. Is this fact or cap, Luis?
Cap. We talking about two all-time great players in Karl Malone and John Stockton. I get Spider might have all the attributes that they didn't, and he might be a great two guard. But when you're saying the greatest to grace that franchise, they took him to the finals. The mailman took him to the finals multiple times. Donovan Mitchell hasn't done that. Will he do that? Of course, his career is extremely young. But to say he's the best, and what's crazy is he said it and then he lost game 3. That's what was funny to me. Like, I'm gonna need Stephen A to stop co-signing on people. Like, just chill, bro.
Corey, what do you think? Fact or cap?
This is, I'm not wearing a hat right now, but this is cap all the way. And it now, I almost like don't even trust Stephen A no more. Like, I don't even like him anymore. Let me tell you why. This might be the one that...
This was it? This did it for you?
Yeah. This one. For me, bro. This one. Because even though he be saying some off-the-wall stuff, there always seems to be like, or typically, there's like a little bit of ounce of like, okay, I can see where he coming. There's a little. It only takes a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, my point is that this is recency bias. Donovan Mitchell looks great right now, so you want to say he's the best. If you look up his stats, I'm just going to run down some stats for you real quick. If we're talking top 10 career leaders for the Utah Jazz, he's only top 10 in 3-point field goals made, 3-point field goals attempted, but not 3-point field goal percentage, not triple doubles, not even field goal percentage. What else would be like something that you would be great at? Let's see, free throws, not free throws. Let's look at assists, not assists. Rebounds, not rebounds. So he's not even top 10 in his own organization. How the hell is he the greatest Utah Jazz player? It's recency bias. It's cap. Stephen A, I feel like I need a part of your contract for saying some dumb stuff like that. All right, break me off because I know you got a fat one because you got a new little show and everything. Give me part of that contract, bro.
He arguing himself with a baby.
It was funny. I was watching that video right when he was talking about it, and there was one part that stood out to me because he was like, he's like 6. He wouldn't get off the fact that he was not 6'1". He's like, no, man, he's not 6'1". I stood next to him and he was taller than 6'1". And it just, I thought that it's like a really small detail. And y'all probably like, what is Brianna talking about?
Who cares?
But it's like, he is 6'1". And he just like, nah, man, he's not 6'1". I'm like, Steven, like what?
He's 6'1" and 7 quarters.
Steven want to be 6 foot so bad, just like me.
I guess. Anyway, Devonte, what do you think?
Yeah, he's just being a fan. He's being a big fan right now. Donnie Mitch is playing amazing right now. He's playing great. Really do hope. I think they're gonna pull off this series right now. But greatest Utah Jazz of all. Didn't we just get done watching The Last Dance to show you that was definitely not a factor to be talking about right now? Like, no. So. Corey just broke down all the stats to let you know that is super cap. So I'm also going to agree that is cap. Love Donnie Mitch, but you got a long time to go, buddy. But you're doing great though. Starting on the good track. Going to,
If you're listening,
like
you know.
stocks. Yeah, if you listen.
Doing great though.
CJ, factor cap.
Actually, Devonte, he didn't bring down all the stats because I'll give you some more stats.
Oh.
Lord.
Who is the second in points in league history?
History?
Karl Malone. Yeah, league history. Karl Malone. Yeah. Who is a 14-time All-Star? Who's a 4-time defensive player on all defensive team? And then who's a Hall of Famer? And also, who has 2 MVPs? Who doesn't have an MVP? That would be Donovan Mitchell. What the hell are we talking about? What is this conversation? Why are we like Stephen A. Smith to me is like 1 inch like not worse, I would say just 1 inch right behind Skip Bayless and like the take machines that need to stop. You just saying shit to say shit and you need to stop. So to me, I would say he's not even top. He could be top 3 by the end of this year, depending on how this playoff goes. If they can get to the finals, I think he'd be top 3 because you have to like if he can win a championship, you can't say he's not. If you can't say he's not top 3, but even on his own team right now, there's a player who has I'll say he has some better awards. I wouldn't say he's better at play style or benefit for the team than Rudy Gobert. Like just the defensive player awards, getting to 3 in a career is that's a Hall of Famer feat, right? We're seeing some people get into the Hall of Fame next year who's got that. So to me, I'm just a little bit perturbed by this take. I just don't even understand. Sorry, I went really high and I got really low, but I'm just like, it is. I don't get it. I don't get why this was even a conversation. He could have not done all this hyperbole, but he did, and now we have to talk about it. And it's just, ugh.
Can I ask you who's 1 and 2 if he's number 3?
Carl and John Stockton?
Yeah, right. But are we forgetting about Mark Eaton and Andre Karolinko?
Okay, but I just said he could get into the top 3.
I said?
I said he could get into the top 3 if he wins the championship this year.
Yeah.
I did
Like
not
this
say
year,
that he
though,
was.
Yeah, no,
I said he could
agree
get
with
into.
CJ. If he wins a chip,
so you're saying
I think if
he
he
win
wins
a
a chip,
chip
period.
plus his longevity. Or
Yes.
you saying if he win a chip this year, he's already submitted top 3?
There's nobody
Yes.
in Jazz history who's won a championship. So yeah, I'm not saying all the players who haven't, but I'm saying in the Jazz organization.
So,
to
but
me,
the-
yes.
Hold on.
You're telling me that like
I'm not.
I disagree
Listen.
with that. No.
I get what you're about to say, but even if you counter with he doesn't have the numbers yet, you act like he won't eventually through his career he will get to that point. Like if he plays at this level, which it doesn't, there's no sense of saying he's not. He came back from injury and he's doing amazing. Like why would we not assume that?
I'm not saying that he wouldn't. I'm just saying I think that a chip this early doesn't automatically cement him to top 3 when there's a lot of players in history. We can even go into any sports. You can go into the NFL, people who had a hot year and won a chip, and they not number 3 in 8 teams organization because they won a chip that year. Is Nick Foles number 3?
You're not a Jazz fan, right? You're not a Jazz fan, right? Just making sure. You're not a Jazz fan?
No, I'm not a Jazz fan.
If you were a Jazz fan and you tell me that Donovan Mitchell brings a chip home, that you won't consider him in the top 3, I think you would be one of the only Jazz fans in the world to say that.
Well, yeah,
that's what I'm
but
just trying to say.
like I tell my brother all the time, if 1 million people say 2 + 2 is 5, it's still 4. So I could be the only person thinking that. That's fine. Doesn't make me incorrect. All I'm trying to say is, I don't know. It's gonna take longevity to put him to the 3 because we rank numbers on tops based on longevity. And I get you. It's safe to assume that he's gonna have the same numbers.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna put him 3 automatically. I think he can get the 3, and I think getting a chip now can highly propel him. But you got to get past AK-47 and Mark Eaton too, bro.
Darren Williams.
AK-47.
Darren Williams, Greg Altetag.
What I know is that CJ went from 0 to 100 so fast. I got turned around. I don't remember if
But he
Luis
came back
talked.
down,
Luis, did
though.
you even talk? I don't remember because that just took so
tried
much of my
to.
brain.
My bad.
So
Go
much
ahead.
passion.
Factor cap.
Now, I already spoke, but I want to bring up Rudy Gobert's defensive season because it's one of the greatest
He said
defensive
something.
season we've seen compared to Ben Wallace and the all defensive greats. Y'all wildin'.
Bro. He point fishing.
Yo.
Oh, he is point fishing.
So turned around.
Go ahead.
Narratives around me. It
God.
be your own people. It be your own friends.
That wraps up our factor cap quarter. Next we have our last quarter. Last chance to get your points, y'all, since you're all about it this week. So we're gonna start with Wednesday. Deshaun Watson. It was reported that he wants to be traded to Denver. So if he gets what he wants, what does that say about the NFL? Luis, so that way I remember that you talked. Go.
Wow. Wow. Listen, Deshaun should not be traded nowhere until we figure out what is going on with his situation. Point blank, period. Like, we need to, what's going on, big fam? You don't get to disappear out of the public eye for a month and then, hey, I want to be traded to the Denver Broncos. So I think the NFL needs to do their due diligence. They need to continue to investigate these serious allegations, and they need to put their foot down and say, okay, what's going on? Because he shouldn't go to another team just because of his talent or his ability to lead a team into a Super Bowl or his youth. It needs to be, yo, did you do right or did you do wrong? And if you did right, go ahead. Go get traded. But if you did wrong, you got to go, buddy.
Devonte, what does it say about the NFL?
Yeah, he got too much going on right now. They need to figure all that out before we can even really assess what Deshaun Watson is at this moment. Like, as a player, we know he is pretty good. He was one of like the top 10 quarterbacks in the league and things like that. But he got to figure this out before we can talk about destinations. Because before all of this had occurred, he did announce that he wants to be traded from Houston. Everybody was rooting for him to do so, and now we're at a pause. And so until that all gets fixed, we can't really say too much of what we think it would be as a good fit in Denver. I feel like the Denver Broncos right now got other problems than trying to be traded for Deshaun Watson. Go get Rodgers. Rodgers is literally not going to camp right now. So, hope that all gets figured out. But as of now, nothing much to really say about Deshaun Watson going to Denver. So,
Cori, what do you have to add?
The NFL, they are who we thought they were. Okay, the NFL is gonna be who the NFL is, bro. Like, they don't actually care about issues unless it hurts their bottom line. Okay, they really don't. So if we look at it, why has the NFL not came out and be like, or have a policy to where if you're under investigation, you essentially like, you on leave, right? And every other business, if they investigating, hey man, you got to go to the house, all right? Or you go on desk duty or something else. You got to go to the house, chill, and then once we make once we finalize the case, maybe we can bring you back and do all this other stuff. I think the NFL, what they do is they're very performative, as they always are, and they will come out and, okay, the bottom line says that they feel this way, so we're gonna say that we feel this way. But if we can let it linger long enough and like nobody really pay attention to it, I think we'll be fine. Like, that's what the NFL does. That they've done that consistently over their history of everything, even with their suspensions, and they're bringing people back and allowing people back. But for me, I think it's different for a lot of our black athletes. And if they allow my boy Deshaun Watson, especially if stuff turns out he's guilty or whatever else, to be traded and have a career but not capped, I think it lets you know what it means for the NFL. The NFL is easier for them to harbor somebody who assaults people than it is for somebody who stands up for them being black and other people.
CJ, what do you think?
Cori, why don't you go ahead and say it, bro? It is submit them as the most problematic league in the world, which they already kind of feel like it is, right? Doesn't it already feel like it is? You know what I mean? So this is my issue with the NFL, and Cori actually kind of hit on it when it comes to Cap. You know, Cap hasn't been in the league for many years because he decided to stand up what he thought was right. He didn't break any laws. He didn't do anything that hurt another person. He just decided to stand up, or more or less kneel, for his personal opinions on the world. And that, to me, tells me all I need to know about the NFL. And this is why this is not something that I'm super confused about if it does happen. Like, if Deshaun gets traded, at the end of the day, I'm going to be like, but the NFL has done so many other bullshit things in the past decade, past 50 years. Why would I be surprised that they would trade Deshaun to the Broncos? What would be the real, negative point, right? They let Greg Hardy come back to the league after beating his wife almost half to death. And you want me to be surprised because Deshaun might get a chance to play again? Hell nah, bro. I'm not surprised because this is the NFL. They are problematic as fuck. And honestly, what can we say, really? Well, I mean, come on.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, don't use the Lord's name in vain, bro. Chill.
Yo, we gonna have to cut that one.
Beating.
Which we don't condone, obviously.
No, we don't. We absolutely do not.
Just the way you say it,
that boy sound like Spot'em got him. Chopper make a beep. You gonna have to. Hey, we're gonna have to edit that out. But yeah, nah, agreed.
Keep your hands to yourself, man. That's all.
Guys, the last thing I want to talk
That's all.
about is actually some women. Finally, gosh.
That's
So
how you really feel.
the Women's College World Series just wrapped up. A lot of things happened. And of course, not with its fair controversy. So a way to kind of wrap all of the stuff that went down in a question, we're just going to say, should softball be a more popular sport? CJ, want to take it?
Absolutely. Y'all know not many people play this sport. This is an amazing sport. It has deep, enthusiastic fans behind the product. And it's killed ratings over the past couple years. It beat out the College World Series in baseball. Sorry, I keep on saying the B word and I'm over y'all got me subconscious, bro. Y'all got me subconscious now. It literally is a. And I'm so happy that ESPN put some more production behind it. They did some wall-to-wall coverage once we started playing the game, somewhat similar to like how we look at the World Series and things like that. But I would like us to take another step forward. Why are we playing games and 12 o'clock, during the middle of the day, in the middle of the week? Can we put this in some primetime spots, y'all? Can we put this in some time slots that people are going to actually be able to sit down and watch it? Because they were already pulling $1 million during the afternoon. That's amazing. That is fantastic work. And I want to see it be more and more produced, bro. More and more. Let's give them their spotlight. And shout out because my little sister about to be a softball legend by the time she's done with the game. So I'm trying, trying to get them to where they get ready for her. You know what I'm saying? Hey.
I definitely think it's a lot of women's sports because I'm a woman. I think it's underrated. I wish there was more, love for the sports of women because they work really hard. And one of the things that I was reading was that the way that their season ends, like they have to play like every day, where in the men's league that's not how it is. And I was like, what? And think about like how tired they are. Think about like literally how much effort they have to put in, maybe playing, I don't know how often, but two games in a day, or like 8 games in 7 days. Like that's a ton. Anyway, just wanted to say
I'll just give you a little
bit.
bit of insight. One player who played hella a lot was James Madison University's pitcher, Odyssey Alexander, who pitched 1,057 pitches, struck out 66 batters in 64 and 2/3 innings. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. That's over like a week span. That is absolutely ridiculous, bro.
But yeah, so go women. Anyway, Corey, what do you think?
Listen, first and foremost, I will say shout out to OSU softball. Shout out to Kenny G. We didn't make it. OU, the powerhouse, won again. But this household is a softball household. Okay, we watch every game every night. We was eating seeds on the TV every day during, I'm not gonna say during work, but when it popped on at 3:00, we was watching it. Okay, Women's College World Series is where we love. It's in OKC, so it's not too far. If we could have made it, we would have went. But here's what I would say: the reason why I think it should be more popular is because it is not the same in aspects of where other women's sports are very similar to male sports. It is not the same for softball. Softball, the distance to run to a base is shorter. That makes it harder. The angles of pitches coming out is different, which makes it harder. the reaction time that a softball player has versus the reaction time that a baseball player has is shorter. That makes it harder. Softball players are able to slap when they're batting, which means they essentially get to run to the plate where they're batting, which makes it shorter time for the infielder to make it to a base, which makes it harder. And all the while, it's fast-paced and more fun. They still cranking out home runs. They still throwing no-hitters. They still pitching perfect games. They be in the dugouts doing chants. It's always lit. Softball needs its day, and if I had the money to continue to invest in it into a professional league that made it like the MLB, that's what I want to see. I am watching softball. If it were up to me, if softball was on TV and baseball was on TV, I'm watching softball. That's it.
That's a really good point. It is really difficult. I'm going to go back to CJ's point and give him a point there for that one. So that one's for you, CJ. It's extremely difficult and, like I said, underrated. So hopefully we'll see more of them. Devonte, what do you think? Should softball be more popular?
Yeah, shout out to the Sooners for getting the job done. That was awesome. But I also thought how it was super dope how James Madison, their journey, seeing like how CJ stated, the investing of the entire World Series, it made it just as big as like MLB World Series. It was super awesome. So I appreciated that. But to pretty much agree with everyone's points, I definitely want to exaggerate on what Cori was saying. The professional thing needs to happen. And here's why. If they are doing all these numbers in the College World Series, and now we have a Brady that is playing in softball, Maya Brady, so that's another big name and things like that. Like, bro, there is professional teams, but I do remember having a teacher who was a coach. She played softball at UT, and she would just tell me, bro, like they busted their tail so hard because they knew that was pretty much it for them after that. Like, they could go play professional sports, but it's almost like playing arena football. Like, let's be honest, you're not getting televised and things like that. We need to find some type of way to make their professional sport a bigger deal, because I feel like that we would get such an exciting lead, a promising group of women showing proud to represent their states or teams that they're drafted to. Make the draft a big thing. I can see nothing but great things in it, but the people have to invest and people have to continue to support those players. So, like, a good example of why I brought up Maya Brady, like, that's a name. Like, we know that's Tom Brady's niece. She's about to go to the league. Obviously, odds are going to be on her. The James Madison player, numbers were ridiculous. So appreciate you, CJ, for shouting that out. But like, come on. Like, if we have all that over there in that professional style, women's sports can go a super long way from there. And so that's something that I would love to see and kind of hope for the best for softball. But great World Series, another one in the books, and can't wait for next year.
Luis, wrap us up.
I actually wanted to bring a different point, and that's the lack of support that colleges and the NCAA has on women's sports. Softball should be a more popular sport, and this should have more exposure, but the way TV contracts are set up with the NCAA, it prevents that from happening sometimes. You guys even talked about the points that you guys were able to watch it at 3 versus prime time when I get back from work. We saw what the NCAA did to women's basketball when it was their turn with their weights and food in the NCAA tournament. That was horrific. They don't get the same accommodations as baseball players. The baseball players have a better structured programs, in my opinion, more resources. And it just boils down to sexism too. So when you have all those elements, it's just kind of, it's unfair to the ladies going out there working just as hard as any other student athlete.
To all the ladies out there who play softball, keep balling. You got fans. Like that, I promise you.
You cold.
You guys got it.
You cold.
Well, y'all, that wraps up our show this week. That was good. And yes, women, we are the best. Anyway.
Who run the world?
Girls.
So let's see. Who got the most points this week? We have CJ with 7, Cori with 6, Devonte with 4, Luis with 4. CJ!
Oh, no.
It's because he came out with the facts this
I
week.
told you with the sleeveless. I told you. He was coming here with a mission.
CJ?
My boy said, Jermaine.
He said, if Jake Paul can box, I can too.
What's your closing remark?
Everyone here at Four Fouls family would like to go ahead and wish Christian Eriksen, the best in recovery. I know yesterday was a very scary moment when he went down on the field. I know when we were starting to talk about it, we weren't sure if he had a heart attack or whatever it may be. It was frightening. And so to him and his family, we wish you the best. And I just want to say, hey, you know what? Titans got to fall every once in a while. So, Corey, it's okay, bro. You got it next week. I'm sure.
No, he don't.
Dang. Okay, well, that wraps up this week's episode. Thank y'all for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share, all the things wherever you're listening to this podcast. We're on all platforms. See y'all next week. Tune in. Don't foul out.